Today, my speech is on why college students should be paid. At the end of my speech, I hope you understand the two laws that have been violated and why the legal theory could be supported on why students could be paid. While researching this topic, I saw a lot of writers mention the greed of NCAA players and young players and millennials, while people like Philip Dubois and Randy Woodson, who are well over $1 million, have chancellor and president positions on the NCAA board of directors, attempt to keep the money for themselves and people at the top. The NCAA has accumulated billions of dollars over the past few years with their television network partners. A contract up to 2021 is worth $11.1 billion, while the contract extension until 2024 is worth $8.1 billion. Ed O'Bannon filed a lawsuit in 2014 claiming that his name, image, and likeness was used without his permission and sold to make profits from video games and the CLC, which is the Collegiate Licensing Company that helps the video game makers make the NCAA football games and etc. During this lawsuit, it was taken all the way to the federal courts, and they actually agreed with Steve O'Bannon that the player's name, image, and likeness does have value. Ultimately, this landed in Supreme Court, and it was repealed. And there were many appeal cases, but ultimately Ed O'Bannon lost. But it is still left up in limbo to whether or not students can get paid. The Ed O'Bannon case opened many doors for student athletes in colleges due to the fact that the NCAA was proven wrong on many cases. As I mentioned, the two laws that are being violated earlier are the right to publicity, the permission to use name, image, and likeness, and the antitrust laws have been violated. The antitrust laws ensure that no one is put in a position of unreasonable or price-fixed contractual agreements. And right now, the students are not allowed, in order to keep their eligibility, they are not allowed to make money, while at the same time they cannot claim their name, image, and likeness. While barred from making money in order to keep their eligibility, they can lose their scholarship if they accept anything of monetary value. The Ed O'Bannon case opened many doors and shined a light on NCAA's. The Ed O'Bannon case opened many doors and shined a light on the NCAA's scheme to use players' name, image, and likeness while having them sign contracts that ensures that they won't have a chance to get a percentage of that money or claim it. Today, my speech is on why college students should be paid. At the end of my speech, I hope that you're able to recognize the two laws that have been violated and why the legal theory is supported on why college students should be paid. While doing research on this topic, I found a lot of writers mention the greed of millennials and NCAA students asking for more than what they deserve. Why people like Philip Dubois and Randy Woodson sit on the board of directors for the NCAA, well worth over $1 million, attempt to hoard the money and keep them to themselves. The NCAA has accumulated billions of dollars over the past years, but just in the last contract they secured with their network partners was worth $11.1 billion, with the contract extension till 2024 worth $8.1 billion. All of this money have been made off NCAA players' likeness without their permission. In 2014, Ed O'Bannon filed a lawsuit. He noticed one day while playing an NCAA game that he himself was on it with his name, image, and likeness, and he had received no funds from the profits, no royalties. This led to him subsequently filing a lawsuit. Then this lawsuit went to the federal courts, particularly the Ninth Circuit Court, where in many cases they disproved the NCAA's case for why they should not pay students. But in many other cases, they were proved that their final resolution wasn't good enough. The case lasted a few years with a few small victories, but in the end it ultimately went to the Supreme Court and was repealed. Ed O'Bannon did appeal the case a few times, and it is still up in the air on whether or not NCAA collegiate athletes can be paid. This was the first of many barriers to break down in order to get to the point where student athletes can get paid. This case alone will lay the groundwork for states like California and the next states to come that will pass legislation for their students to get paid. This battle to get collegiate athletes paid is nothing new. For over 50 years, grant and aid students have received contractual benefits from universities in return for athletic-related services. The Ed O'Bannon case proposed that players be paid $5,000 in a cash lump sum for the previous violations of their name, image, and likeness. That was rejected by the Ninth Circuit Court. One of the reasons the $5,000 cash lump sum proposed by Ed O'Bannon was rejected because the Ninth Court stated that the difference between offering student-athlete education-related compensation and offering student-athlete untethered to education compensation is not only a small leap, but it is a quantum leap, stated by the Ninth Circuit Court. One of the other proposals for a solution that Ed O'Bannon put up was a trust that will be created in order for all students to receive their funds. And once their eligibility is over, or they have went over to the pros and they have left the school, then they can receive those funds. This trust for student athletes could help with the hasty departures for some of the top college prospects going to the pros. Many of them end up becoming the breadwinners for their family and supporting their family. But if they're giving a little leeway, a little financial help, so they can keep continuing their education, and this could decrease the departure of some of these top prospects and college students, period, who go overseas to the NBA D-League, developmental leagues in the MLB, any professional level sport.